what's going on? So today I wanted to do a video of my favorite players. I had a couple people asking me which players I like. I mean, everyone knows, if you've watched any of my videos, that UC Oakland's my favorite player. Won't be much of a surprise for number one. Anyone who's stalked my Instagram account or Twitter knows I'm usually kind of posting or talking about him in some way. So that's probably not a surprise. But there's a whole other bunch of players that I like. So I'm going to break this down into 3 categories and 3 subcategories, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to be doing European leagues, European players who are not in the NHL. I'll be doing retired players and current players. So those will be the 3 categories. And the subcategories will be goalies, defensemen, and forwards. And each one I'm going to do it sort of like a mini roster. I picked 14 forwards, I know, which is more than a forward lineup. 14 forwards, I believe 8 defensemen, and 3 goalies. So it's pretty much like a little team. So I'm not going to spend too much time getting into each detail of why I like the player. But yeah, we're going to start off with the European leagues, and we're going to start with the goalies. Number 3 for the goalies, he would be the 3rd string, I guess. Jan Laxo. He is a Slovakian goalie who I first saw in the World Championship, the year that they went to the gold medal game and eventually lost to Russia, I believe. But he stole the show. I followed his career a little bit since then. I really like him. Number 2 is a former Calgary Flame, and he is back playing with Avangard Omsk, Kari Ramo. I really liked Ramo from his time in Tampa. Followed him when he went over to the KHL and played for Omsk. He's since come back. He was part of the Montreal organization, shipped to Calgary, and now he's back overseas in Russia playing hockey. And I still really like him. And yeah, number 1, Leonardo Giannoni. He is the longtime goalie for HC Davos. I watched him a lot in the Spengler Cups, and more recently in World Championships and the Olympics this past year. He's since moved on from Davos, which made me really sad, but he's playing for Bern, I believe. I could be wrong about that one, but I really like him, and even though he might not ever have an NHL career, I'll always be a fan of his. Moving on to the defensemen. So number 8, I have Yakov Rylov. The first time I saw him play was in the Spengler Cup as well for CSKA Moscow. He's since played for Dynamo Moscow, Akbars in Kazan. And yeah, I really like him. He's a good, solid defenseman in the KHL, and he's on the list. Number 7, also another player I saw in the Spengler Cup. Santeri Alatalo. He is a Finnish defenseman who is playing over in the Swiss League. I just really liked him. He scored a really sweet goal that I believe Joe Thornton assisted on in the Spengler Cup. And ever since then, I've kind of followed his career. And anytime in NHL games, I'll usually put him on one of my rosters. He has a sweet name, so I liked him. Number 6. Former Nashville Predator, Jonathan Blum. I thought the world of this guy. I thought he was going to be the best defenseman Nashville put out, or at least up there with like Weber and Suter. Didn't work out quite that way. He did go to Minnesota for a brief stop, and he was soon out of the league, playing over in KHL. I believe he just left the team in Sochi to go play for Torpedo in Nizhny Novgorod. I hope I said that right. But he played most notably for Admiral Vladivostok. He was their captain there. It was an expansion team in the KHL. And they had some decent success their first couple of years. He was pretty good there. He played for the U.S. at the Olympics this past year in South Korea, or North Korea, I don't know where, Pyeongchang, wherever that is, sorry. Yeah, I really liked him. Number 5 is a French national team player. I've really only ever seen him play for France in the national team like tournaments and the World Championship and all that. This is a bit of a weird name, so stay with me here. Kevin Heck Fui. French defenseman, and I really liked him. Mostly, honestly, just his name was really sweet when I heard the announcer say it. I liked it, and I've kind of followed him a little bit since then. I believe he is also in the Swiss League. Could be wrong. But yeah, every time France plays, he's usually on their top defense pairing. And he's a really good defenseman. Moving on, number 4, Maxim Chardinov. Former SKA St. Petersburg player. He's since moved on to Avangard Omsk. And I really just like him. He would probably be one of my favorite defensemen in the KHL if I was just doing a KHL list. And he might move up depending on how these next 2 players do in the coming years. Because number 3, we're moving on to Evgeny Medvedev, former Flyer. His career, along with the person at number 2, their careers have they're on the backswing of their career. And I don't know how much longer they have left. So Medvedev, I still really like, and I'll still always be a fan. But he might be dropping just in favor of a younger player like Maxim Chardinov. And speaking of former one-year NHL players, number 2, Anton Belov, former Oiler. I have his jersey for Avangard Omsk. I also have a Medvedev jersey for Kazan. But Belov played for Omsk, went over to the Oilers. He didn't really have that great of a year. I thought Medvedev had the better NHL season out of the 2. But he went back to the KHL to play for St. Petersburg. I don't know why I forgot that one there for a sec, but he went to play for St. Petersburg, and he's won a few championships there. He's still one of their better defensemen, but he's kind of on the back end of his career as well. Number 1, it's a Swiss defenseman, Raphael Diaz, former Montreal Canadian, former Calgary Flame, Vancouver Canuck, and New York Ranger. I really liked him, and I wouldn't necessarily be surprised to see him maybe get another tryout at some point in the NHL. Whether or not he would ever stay, I doubt it, but I really liked him. I really liked him in Montreal, and I was so happy when the Rangers got him. I knew he wasn't going to be the top 4 defenseman, but I think as a 6-7, he's very reliable. He was the captain of the Swiss team this past year at the believe at the World Championships and the Olympics, so the Swiss value him a lot. Moving on to the forwards for the European leagues. Alright, so with the forwards, we're going to start off right away. Number 14, Maxim Afinogenov, former Thrasher, former Sabre. When he left the NHL, he went to St. Petersburg. He's since played for Vitas Chekhov, where he was the captain. And I think he just signed back with Moscow Dynamo. I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure this past offseason he signed there. But yeah, see, he's still playing, and I still love him. Moving on, number 13, another French player, Stéphane DaCosta, former Ottawa Senator. I have his jersey hanging up over there. Again, he's one of those players I thought was going to have a really decent career in the NHL. Maybe as a bottom 6 guy. He didn't really see himself as a bottom 6, so he went over to, I believe he played in the Finnish league and then went to the KHL. Maybe it's the Swedish, I don't know, he played in some league before going to the KHL. And he was playing a very big role for CSKA Moscow. And he's had a decent run over there. I don't believe he still plays for Moscow. I would have to check. I haven't seen anything for him for the last couple months. But yeah, moving on, number 12, former Calgary Flame, Roman Chervenka. Jaromir Jagr's man crush right here. Jagr thought very highly of Roman Chervenka, and he had a decent year in Calgary, I thought. Not enough to stick around. He's since moved on, and he played for CSK St. Petersburg. SKA St. Petersburg. If I've been saying the St. Petersburg wrong name, I apologize. But CSKA and SKA, just too much to think of. Yeah, he's had a decent career over in the KHL. I believe he's since moved on to the Swiss League, last I saw. And yeah, I'll always follow him. I'll always like him. Moving on, number 11, Latvian forward Laris Darzins. He was the one who scored the beautiful breakaway goal against Carey Price in the 2014 Olympics, and one of probably the most entertaining games from that Olympics, to be honest. I have his jersey from his time in Chelyabinsk, and I really like him. Ooh, number 10, Wojtek Wolski. He's jumped considerably even just this past year, playing for the Team Canada in the Olympics. He had a really bad injury playing for Magnitogorsk, broke his neck, just shattered his neck. He was in the hospital for a very, very long time. Came back, he's went to a different team, but now he went back to Metalurg in Magnitogorsk. So hopefully he can kind of regenerate his career. He had a decent Olympics. I wouldn't mind getting a Wojtek Wolski Team Canada jersey if I can find one from this past Olympics for a decent price. Moving on though, number 9, Sergei Kalinin. Another player who had a very scary injury. He was the captain of the Omsk team. It was a playoff game against Boris Astana. He just got kind of smushed in between two players. His head hit the ice, and he just kind of started seizing up, and it was really kind of scary to see. But he's kind of came back from that, went on to a couple seasons with the New Jersey Devils, some time with the Toronto Maple Leafs, before moving on to SKA St. Petersburg. And I really hope he has a long career despite that injury he suffered. Number 8. I had room for this player on my current favorite NHL players. Unfortunately, he only played 3 games. Vadim Shapachov, who's pretty much spent the majority of his career playing for St. Petersburg, was their captain when they stripped Kovalchuk of the C. They gave it to Shapachov, and he was lights out for St. Petersburg. I know he played for Severstal before St. Petersburg. I was super excited to see him come to Vegas. Unfortunately, that didn't work out too well for him or Vegas. But he just signed with Afenaganov, I believe, with Dynamo Moscow. So I'm very excited to see them this season. Moving on though, number 7, Norwegian forward Patrick Thoresen. He was a player who I remember also had a relatively scary injury when he was playing for the Flyers. He blocked a shot and it exploded his cup area region, and that was not a fun looking injury whatsoever. As far as the damage down there goes, I don't know. I never really ended up hearing anything about it, but man, that must have been rough. He's played for St. Petersburg, won a couple championships with them. He left, and then he has since returned to St. Petersburg, where I believe he's currently playing for the next season. Very good Norwegian forward. He's always on their team for World Championships and Olympics and that type of stuff. Very proud player, and I hope the best for him in this upcoming season. Number 6, Sergei Shimikov. He is a forward who played for Novosibirsk. I have his Novosibirsk jersey hanging up as well. He's since moved on to play for CSKA Moscow, but I believe his contract was up for this year, and I'm not sure if he's re-signed there or not yet. I'd have to look into it. But yeah, I really liked him. He's a small forward. I believe he's a right-handed shot, and he's just awesome. I got some great moves to him. Moving on, number 5, another French player. Sorry, I got him written out here so I can see, but that one was kind of messily written. Damien Fleury, another French player who had a decent year for the expansion team in China in the KHL, the HC Kunlun Red Star. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say. He's very good for the national team whenever France has played. He's usually one of their most relied upon players, and I really like him. Number 4, going from France to Switzerland, Enzo Corvi, longtime HC Davos player. The first time I saw him was when he was on a line with, I believe, Louis Eriksson in the Spangler Cup. and he was lights out. I've kind of followed his career ever since then between the Swiss League and the Swiss national team, and I really like him. Number 3, got a bit of a man crush on this guy, Thomas Raffl, the brother of Flyers forward Michael Raffl. He plays for the Red Bull team in Salzburg in Austria. He's just literally a man beast. He is just, I don't know, I'll put a picture up of him, and he's just a scary, badass looking dude. I do want to make it over to Austria to watch him play at some point. He's on the list of players that I feel like I need to see before they retire. And eventually I could see him taking the number 1 spot on this list once number 2 retires and number 1 probably goes to the NHL. But number 2 is Ladislav Nagy. That guy right here, Ladislav Nagy, mostly known for his time in the Phoenix Coyotes organization. 1 year with LA, St. Louis, Dallas. He was a trade deadline acquisition for the Stars. He said he was just taking 1 year off from the NHL just to kind of heal up a little bit, and he never really came back. He's been bouncing between the KHL and the Slovak League. He's really kind of rejuvenated his career the last 2 years playing for the Slovak national team at World Championships and in the Olympics. Probably their best player, I thought, by far. So he's still got a little bit of game. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he tried to come back for one last NHL season. I don't think that'll happen, but I wouldn't be surprised. Number 1, Nikita Gusev, St. Petersburg forward. He was traded to the Vegas team, and I hope he ends up there at some point, but after the whole debacle with Shapachov, I don't know. He is by far St. Petersburg's best player. He pretty much single-handedly won the gold medal for the Russia at the Olympics. I know Kaprizov scored the game winner, but that whole game against Germany was just the Nikita Gusev show. I've kind of followed his career since he played for Ugara and the KHL. I was super excited when he went to St. Petersburg, and he's not disappointed. So those are the 14 forwards, the 8 defensemen, and the 3 goalies from the European leagues. Next, I'll be moving on to the retired players for the NHL.